Hey guys, this is Lucas and welcome to my channel, and if you're a subscriber, welcome back. Last night I was bored and so I googled things to watch on Hulu, and I came across this movie, this shark movie, The Reef, Stalked. Now, I'm a big fan of marine biology. In fact, it's what encouraged me to get a biology degree. And I like anything related to the ocean, anything related to ocean sciences and stuff like that. And so I figured, kill a shark movie, that's right up my alley. But I have no naivete when it comes to shark movies. I know that for every one good shark movie, well, every one good killer shark movie, there's about a dozen or so bad ones. In fact, more than that. For anybody interested in the train wreck that is shark movies, I would encourage you to watch James Rolfe's top 40 shitty shark movies. It's either top 40 or top 50. But either way, it's a conglomeration of shitty shark movies that he put together to kind of show to people. And I think that demonstrates just how many of these there are. I mean, Jaws was a phenomenon. Jaws was a cultural icon, something that completely blew the socks off people. For better and for worse. Like me personally, I don't like what it did for shark conservation, and I don't like what it did for the ecosystems. However, the movie itself is great. I'm not going to knock the movie. The movie is like a B movie, but good, if that makes sense. So when I go into any shitty shark movie, I at least want it to just be entertaining. And that is why I want to talk about today's movie, The Reef, Stalked, because this movie is not entertaining. This movie is a slog. A tedious, boring slog. This movie is about an hour and 30 minutes, and I swear to you, each minute feels excruciating. I'm going to get into that in just a moment, but let me tell you about the movie first. The Reef, Stalked, was a movie that came out in 2022 by director-writer Andrew Traucki. It's certainly something, I'll tell you that. It's apparently a sequel to the movie The Reef, a shark movie that came out 12 years prior. And it didn't do too well, so I don't know what encouraged the director to make another movie, but here we are. Also, I believe this was originally made for Shudder, or it's a Shudder original, or Shudder's involved in some way, because it's the first thing you see when you start the movie. We start off with our four gal pals, Nick, Jody, Lisa, and Kath, and they are girl bossing it up. They're spearing some fish to eat, and just having a grand old time diving. They're all experienced divers, and this is just something that they do for fun. So they take a selfie before having some brekkie down by the bobby.
Only at Outback Steakhouse.
And after this initial dive, the movie takes a sharp turn into a realm that I did not expect. And it's what I call the Lifetime Original Movie realm. I thought this was a killer shark movie. But in actuality, it's a Lifetime movie parading as a shark movie. Because what ends up happening within, the first 10 minutes of the movie is Nick's sister, Kath, has a bit of a domestic dispute with her husband. And then when she gets back to her husband's place, Nick gets an ominous text message from Kath saying to help her, saying to come. And when Nick gets there, Kath's husband has murdered her. Kath's husband has strangled her in a bath. So that was a sharp turn that I didn't expect. And it cuts away to present day, I think some months later after the funeral or whatever, and Nick is traumatized. She has PTSD because she saw her sister in the bathtub. And she wasn't able to go to the funeral. And it spends a lot of time really focusing on this sort of PTSD caused by her sister's untimely demise. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, that's kind of weird. I mean, when do we see the shark? And so we cut to when Nick comes back. She meets with her other gal pals, Jody and Lisa, and her sister Annie, who actually showed up when Nick got the text. Annie is Nick's younger sister who becomes the replacement, the main character, along with the other three girls for the remainder of the movie. And I gotta tell you, they don't really do a good job introducing this character. She's kind of just your typical Gen Zer who's like, oh, you don't understand me. You don't understand what I do. And then, she's on social media, she's on her phone. It's just lazy writing, I think. Nick, her sister, Jody, and Lisa go to a Pacific Island kayaking sort of adventure to kind of get away and to just close the book on Kath's murder. I guess kind of like putting a little trinket in a box, kind of like a nice send-off to their friend, you know? And so they go on this whole vacation, this kayaking vacation, just to chill and to kind of like close the book on that. After they talk for a while, Nick has more PTSD flashbacks, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, is the shark going to show up yet? Nick is traumatized. She goes into her room, and she keeps thinking about it. She's tormented by this, and her friends, Jody and Lisa, are trying to dance around her very carefully, trying not to upset her, but also not knowing how they can help. And this falls into more what I was talking about with a Lifetime original movie. Because I remember when I was growing up watching movies on the Lifetime channel, and it would be kind of this kind of energy, this weird like domestic energy and PTSD and overcoming something. And so I'm like, this doesn't really fit a killer shark movie, at least in my opinion. And so it's Annie's first time kayaking, so they head out to this island resort that is, I don't know, some miles away from the island that they're on. And that's when it starts. Again, I think there's another PTSD scene on the way. And because of this, it's important to notice that Nick stopped diving because of her sister Kath and her untimely demise. And that becomes a large part of this movie. So I'm just waiting here. I'm like, okay, when's the shark showing up? When is the shark going to show up? And I shit you not, the first time they give us a taste of the shark is 30 minutes into the movie. We see its fin, we see a little bit of the shark swimming, but I'm thinking like, that looks like stock footage. And so I looked closely at it and I'm like, they deadass did that, didn't they? They used stock footage. They put stock footage on top of the girl swimming, which is kind of genius because I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Sci-Fi Channel original movies, but they have cinematics and CGI that rivals PS2 quality. It's really shoddy and really stupid, but this movie subverts that by opting not to do CGI and instead to do just footage composited on top of other footage. So you get this weird Frankenstein's monster of a movie. And when the shark shows up, like, it starts attacking them, obviously. It starts attacking the kayak. And spoilers, although I don't think anybody cares, Lisa ends up getting eaten by the shark off screen. So you do the classic thing where the shark grabs her and there's this red cloud in the water. And of course, you know, people are traumatized, Jody's traumatized, and it's just, they have to make it to the island, right? And they notice that like the island has kids on it. The kids are in the water, so they're like, oh, we got to make it to the island quickly. We got to help these kids. And sure enough, they end up doing that. And then they have to trek to another island because this island doesn't have internet or telephone access. Convenient. And so they have to get on this shoddy boat. Shoddy. 2 of the kayaks are still operational, but 2 of the kayaks have been destroyed. There's one dinky little motorboat that they have to use to get to a second island so that they can call or use the internet. Like, you don't see much of the shark, and by the time they're getting over to the second island, I think it's like an hour into the movie, and they're just talking and arguing over like, oh, well, we can't, we have to try and go to the shark, we have to try and get to the second island and, you know, avoid the shark, or we have to kill the shark on our way to get help, you know, that type of beat. Because one of the kids who was swimming in the water near the first island gets attacked by the shark, but gets just a little bit of a laceration on her leg, but they need to call for help so they can get medical assistance. Yeah, they decide to risk it and go to the second island, after which they end up fighting the shark again. And that's really all that happens, just talking, PTSD, and composite footage of a shark. Every time you think there's going to be some action or there's going to be like some gore or anything like that, because, you know, like part of the reason why I would think you would watch these movies is because, you know, horrific stuff happens because of the shark attacks. But it all happens either off screen or in like this weird jump cut shaky cam sort of thing. So I was never a fan of that. My biggest complaint with this movie was that the shark is only on screen for less than 5 minutes. Even if it is like a real shark, or if it is, you know, footage of a real shark, or if it's the animatronic fin that they used, it's less than 5 minutes of the movie. Most of it is talking, and most of it is like worrying about things, and most of it is just being out in the ocean seeing nothing. And so it's kind of a boring movie. By the time an hour and 15 came around, I was kind of just alt-tabbing and reading various articles on my computer, and then I had to remember, oh yeah, I want to watch this movie. Nothing really happens. I mean, their friend Lisa bites the dust early on, but after that, I mean, that's pretty much it. So I guess I won't spoil the ending if anybody plans on watching this movie, but I'll just tell you that it's not great. The whole movie is just bad. And I think they had a missed opportunity here, because since they had such a big focus on the relationship between Nick, Annie, and Kath, I think they should have just made a drama that had thriller elements involving a shark, right? I think they should have made a killer shark. It's not really a killer shark movie, it's just a movie that happens to have a killer shark. And if you went in with that expectation of kind of like a drama that just happens to have a shark attack in it, I think it would have worked far better for the movie. Because there's plenty of media I know that uses sci-fi, fantasy, and thriller aspects to just bolster its drama. Like one of my favorite games is Life is Strange, the original one. And there's time travel in that game, and it's a big part of it. But that's not the focus, at least from what I can tell. The focus is on the relationship between the characters. And the time travel is sort of like just to bring more focus to that. So I think that in this case, it could have just used the shark as a storytelling device to act as a metaphor for like the relationship between family members, the relationship between friends, that sort of thing. Or like overcoming adversity. I think that would have been very easy. And so just capitalizing on this sequel to a movie that no one probably watched is strange and misguided. Now, I did like a couple things about this movie, namely the GoPro shots that were in the beginning, or the like GoPro-ish shots. I thought that was really cool, you know, seeing underwater. I always like that. But there wasn't enough of it. And since the shark was just like, from what I could tell, composited onto other footage, the shark itself does look great. I also kind of liked Jodie as a character. I mean, none of the characters were really that deep. But I would say, you know, I like the back and forth that some of the characters do. I didn't like the bickering between Nick and her sister Annie. You know, the whole, you don't understand me. That happened again. It comes back. It becomes really grating, and it's like you want the action to start up again. And so I didn't like that. And I feel like the ending was pretty decent, you know. The ending was kind of like, it put a nice bow on whatever the hell they ended up doing with it. But overall, it was just a very disappointing movie, and I did not have fun watching it, so I really wouldn't suggest it. And if you do end up watching it, just keep in mind what I said before. The movie that's marketed as a horror, you know, with killer sharks. Killer shark is the smallest part about it. Oh, before I forget, there's this scene I really liked, though, with the shark. Yeah, I think this was the part where Annie was on the kayak. The kayak was upside down, and I think she was, like, scared on top of it. But the water's really clear, and you see the clear water, and then out of nowhere, you see the shadow of the shark, and like lightning, the shark hits them. So I'm like, holy shit, ninja shark. So I thought that was cool, but it definitely does not make up for the boring, tedious slog that was the rest of the movie. If you do think you can get something good out of it based on what I've told you, then by all means go see it, but don't blame it on me if you don't like it. That's all I'm saying. You know, I didn't like it. I will not be seeing it again. But yeah, that's the video, guys. I hope you had a good time. I certainly had a good time making it. Let me know if you want to see more reviews like this in the future. This one might seem a little clunky because I'm trying to get my feet wet, no pun intended. If you guys also have any suggestions about what to watch on Hulu, please throw them my way. I would greatly appreciate it. Hope you guys are doing well and staying safe. This is Lucas, and I'll catch you later.